Greetings, metaphysicians. This is episode 192, Angelic Intelligence. And this is our grand finale of Season 8, Angelic Reformation. Angelic Intelligence is my very favorite form of AI. I think you'll enjoy it too. Listen in and enjoy our final episode of Season 8.
You're listening to Let's Get Metaphysical. This podcast explores the spiritual and metaphysical world through the experiences and opinions of the host and those interviewed. It should not necessarily be seen as direct endorsement or personal advice to our listeners. We encourage you to use your own discernment, judgment, and intuition regarding anything you learn from this show. The statements and advice offered in this podcast are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition, and are not substitutes for prudent medical care offered by licensed medical professionals. References to healing or treatments in this episode are describing faith-based blessings performed by God and the master healing angels. Neither this episode nor any part of it may be copied, transcribed, distorted, sold, republished, or distributed without first receiving the express written permission of both the CMA International Foundation and Up and Awaken Productions.
Let's get meta.
Welcome to the Let's Get Metaphysical podcast. I'm your host, Renata Maniaci. Here to remind you, you are a spiritual being currently having a temporary human experience here on lovely planet Earth. Enjoy it. This is Season 8, Angelic Reformation, and this is episode 192, Angelic Intelligence. And this season has been all about the body of knowledge known as Angelic Reformation, which is what we call the tools, processes, and rapid spiritual development work that has been presented through the teacher, Master John Douglas, by his companions, the Master Angels. And we have reached our final episode of this year-long season. That is right. Season 8 started in March of 2025, and it is closing with this last episode after a supremely angelified year. And I have a bit more to share before we close out this season. So, if you are ready, then let's get meta. Master Angels, I humbly request your presence, guidance, and support through this episode. Please help these words to be useful to all listeners on their evolutionary journey. Let me know the truth, speak the truth, become the truth, and be the truth. And please let this episode reach whoever needs to hear it. Thank you with full faith. Bless creation. So, one of the things that I want to talk about in this episode is the remote blessing tools that are available in this toolbox called Angelic Reformation. And they have been mentioned a few times throughout in different testimonials, and you're going to hear these referenced in our testimonials for today. So I thought I'd go through them. At first, I thought I was going to do an episode on each of these 3 different remote blessings, but this is what's dropping in now, is just to give them kind of a bit of an overview here in this episode. So there is something called a silent faith remote healing, or an SFR for short. And this is something that one would go to the website, globalcma.org, to purchase if they were in need of immediate assistance with something. And that something has been all kinds of things. There's no one thing. Certainly a medical emergency after you have already called the appropriate emergency medical care or have gone to the hospital. Of course, this would be maybe a second thing to do. But people have done SFRs, silent faith remotes, for all kinds of things, whether they're physical, mental, emotional, an issue with a particular person, a stomach ache. I most recently did one when I was feeling all of a sudden very fatigued and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I had made a few requests of what I thought it was for the angels to kill those things, and it just wasn't happening. And within, I'm going to say, a few hours of purchasing my silent faith remote for this particular thing, I was feeling perfectly fine. So what this blessing is you write down what is going on. You write down your name, what is going on, and then you pay for it and send it in. And you do not hear back on a physical level. But this is giving you immediate help for whatever is going on in your life that you're getting the SFR for. So you have heard throughout this season people mention SFRs or silent faith remotes. This is what they are talking about. It is an immediate help me blessing that the angels and Master John Douglas take care of as soon as you send it in. And the results, I mean, your mileage may vary, but I've had so many immediate blessings using this tool that it's just kind of undeniable that it works, it does something. Now, there are situations where it might not be able to help you because you need to experience whatever you're going through for your own growth, for your karma, for your life lessons. So it's a thing where you will always get blessed in huge ways, but it might not be in the specific way that you're asking for because the specific thing that you're going through is something you need to experience for whatever reason. Now, there's another remote blessing called a karmic mitigation blessing, and that blessing could help an SFR to work more. This is a karmic mitigation blessing. It's kind of like, think of it like we come into this life, we have our karma based on what we did, thought, and spoke in our previous lifetimes. We accumulate more karma with every passing second, be it in the positive aspect or the negative aspect. A KMB, a karmic mitigation blessing, is kind of like taking a bulldozer of your karma away. And sometimes that paves the path for more help to come in for something like a silent faith remote. So if I have something big going on, I will often get both of these tools. I'll get the karmic mitigation blessing or KMB to clear the path karmically for me to actually feel the results of the silent faith remote, which is where I share my specific issue. Now, our last remote blessing that is available is called a divine mercy blessing. And this is a newer remote blessing that is intended for non-spiritual people, meaning folks that are into spiritual development may have family members or close friends or other people in their lives that they would like to help, but who aren't spiritual and who don't want to develop that way or aren't focusing time on that. This is a remote blessing that one could get those people. It's a large blessing, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they will all of a sudden be spiritual, but it is eventually going to result in some kind of spiritual awakening at some point, whether that's right away or not right away. So I'm mentioning these because they were mentioned throughout this season over the last year in various testimonials, and I've also mentioned them within the context of certain episodes. And also in a few moments here, when we hear our testimonials for this episode, you will hear mention of all three of these tools. So I just wanted to go over them again. And again, you find these on the website and you purchase them. And then for each of these, you purchase them and the work is done immediately. You will not get a response back, which is why the first one was called the Silent Faith Remote. So it does take faith, but it is happening either way. The blessing is happening. And there's so many testimonials for the use of these tools. That's why I was going to do separate episodes for all three of these remote blessings. But my guidance is saying that we're good mentioning them here instead of in separate episodes. So there you go. Another thing I wanted to mention in this episode is the events. So there are also in-person and online or remote events that are live with Master John. And there's several opportunities for live events throughout the year. In the spring, it is usually during the spring tour, which starts around mid or early April and goes until mid-June. Almost every event now, both for the spring and fall tour, is available to listen into live online wherever you are. And typically these events start with some introductory videos for folks who are new to this work, followed by an introduction of Master John, and then Master John talking himself. And every event is different. Every event is something where Master John draws upon the specific people in the audience that guides what he brings up that day, and then is followed by a group blessing for everyone listening in on their specific and unique issues, be they physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, anything in between, relational. And he will get very specific. Often he picks the new people on the call and specifically speaks to their issues anonymously. But it is a really powerful thing for anyone tuning in to both hear him speak live and also experience the group blessings at the end. Again, there are so many testimonials from healings from events that could have been an entirely separate episode of this season as well, which I had planned on doing in the beginning. But again, following my angelic guidance, they just wanted me to mention these things here on this episode. So that's what I'm doing. Spring and fall tour. Fall tour is usually November through almost to Christmas, typically. Now, those are the tour events. There is also another opportunity to work with Master John in his advanced knowledge course. It's called the Elite Development Course. It takes place over 4 days, a long weekend in Boone, North Carolina, usually in September's. And there's usually 3 opportunities over the 3 different weekends in September or August it has been before. And that is in person. And that goes into advanced knowledge, sacred knowledge. And that is for people who are really getting a lot out of this work and want to learn more. Another topic that I wanted to go into a bit today is this whole idea that when you are doing this work, when you are listening to the processes, attending events where massive blessings come through, I just wanted to throw that out there as well with the events. Events are a time when you can get massive amounts of blessings on many different things in the span of an hour or two, depending on the length of the event. Same with the advanced knowledge course. These processes are very powerful just as one-offs, just if you listen to one over time. And I think that over the season, you've been able to hear all the different tools and hear the testimonials of people who have used all the various tools. The events are like a thunderstorm instead of just a regular rainstorm or spritzing over time. It's like when it's drizzling out, you get wet, but not as soaked as you get in a thunderstorm. That's kind of, I don't know if that's the analogy that came in for some reason, but blessings happening all the time, and these events really are a way to just get a downpouring. Oh, that's why they wanted me to use that. The term is downpouring of divine work on you specifically during the events. But what am I saying this for? This work, whether it's listening to processes, using the tools, even wearing the pendant, especially attending events, this work actually changes you. It actually has an effect on you. And so as part of old things that you don't need anymore getting taken out of you, such as old negative belief systems, false belief systems, old patterns that you don't need anymore, even old physical things, whether it's parasites or organisms or mold that's been in your body, et cetera, et cetera. So things from all the way from the physical to spirits that have been hanging around you that don't belong to you, that shouldn't be there. Things that came in while you were drinking alcohol or doing plant medicine or anything else that opens your field and allows more negative beings or entities or thought forms, etc., to come in. This work removes those negative things that are no longer serving you. And we call this de-stressing or unstressing. Some people know it as unstressing. The idea is that you may feel an intensification of whatever symptoms you may have if you were coming to have a physical healing. Many people feel an intensification of emotions, might feel sad, might feel angry, might feel frustrated, might feel like they are fatigued or have a short fuse, or feel grief, or any other kind of emotion that is kind of otherwise inexplicable after listening to a process, for example, after attending an event, for example. This means that this work is actually doing something. If you listen to subconscious repair, for example, and you feel emotions come up later that day, right after, or maybe the next day, that is because you are grieving the negativities that are being pulled out while you're listening to that process. And that's not going to last for forever. It is temporary. But you might notice it. Most people do. And what I think is so cool about this de-stressing or unstressing is that it is proof that something is happening. You are grieving those negative belief systems, those false patterns that aren't serving you anymore as they leave you. Something is actually physically changing in you. And then it's gone. And you come to a new equilibrium, a new normal without those negativities. Because they are being replaced with the exact positive version in so many ways. Now, that's not just with subconscious repair or even just with the processes. This can happen after events as well. If you're getting blessed, in that downpouring that I mentioned before, it is only natural to have to kind of recover from that in a sense. Things are being taken out of you that you no longer need and being replaced with things that are going to help you along your highest divine life path in all ways. De-stressing is inevitable with this work. You will feel it. If you are someone who enjoys doing this, enjoys self-development, enjoys emerging into your highest divine life path, enjoys spiritual development. This work is intense, and it's not for the faint of heart. And I don't say that to scare anyone off. It's just to state, hey, if you listen to one of these processes or attend an event and you feel something come up, or a massive shift or unexplained anger or a barrage of tears and you don't know where they came from, that's the work. That means it's working. This angelic stuff actually works. So that's kind of the point here I wanted to talk about. I could have done, again, I could have done a whole episode on de-stressing and go into it. I mean, we all feel it. People who do this work feel it. Now, if you're somebody who wants to go on and your favorite thing that you heard about this season was the food disc, and you go on the website and you buy the food repair disc, you might not feel any de-stressing. You're using the food disc, it's blessing whatever you ingest, and you live your life. It's saving you from E. coli, it's saving you from parasites and other things, upset stomach, from whatever. But you're not necessarily going to de-stress over that. That's fine. But I'm talking about if you're going to start listening to the processes, if you're going to start attending events, it's just a normal thing to feel this stuff come up while it is leaving you. So don't be surprised when it happens. Remember this episode, and remember I told you this work is intense, and you feel it because it's actually doing something. It's actually transforming you. It's actually shifting you for the better. And it will quiet down. You will go through a period of de-stressing that's fairly short, and then it will smooth over. And then it will happen more as you keep developing, and then it will smooth out and come to an equilibrium. And your new normal will keep getting better and better and better. And that's what we'll hear a little bit about in our testimonials today as well. This work can and will change your life. But I just wanted to mention all of that now as we are closing out the season, so that those of you who have followed along raptly for the last 12 months are not surprised by this work if you want to jump in and try. Or maybe you already have and you've been experiencing some of these side effects of this deep, intense, all-level work on not only your physical, emotional, and mental, but all of your spiritual bodies, which are more complex than the physical. All these levels and layers are being cleaned out. So you're going to feel that in your physical body. You're going to feel that in your human emotions. And then it will even out. So we're going to move on now to our testimonials for today. And this is just a few folks who wanted to share what angelic reformation has done for them. And I picked 3 that kind of ran the gamut of a wide range of interesting stories. Hope you enjoy.
How has angelic reformation changed my life? I think the challenge with that question is coming up with one succinct answer. My name is Jonathan, and I live in Washington, D.C. I'm an Army officer in the reserves and a government civil servant. I've known Master John since 2008 and been a regular attendee since 2012. Succinct answer with that question is dealing with negativity. The world's filled with negativity. We don't even need to look for it. But what has impressed me most about Master John and angelic reformation is his ability to acknowledge that negativity, understand the place for it in the world, and then move past it almost instantaneously and without dwelling on it or allowing it to consume or overwhelm him. It's one of the most profound life lessons that I have tried to emulate, and it allows me to focus on the joy and beauty in the world. Everything happens in God's time.
Hi, this is Michelle from Charleston, South Carolina. I had a problem with someone and it wouldn't get resolved. I had sent SFRs, KMBs, DMBs. It's not that it hadn't changed, but it just felt like it wouldn't budge. It was just so strong. And then I remember that Master John said that by changing one ingredient in this one recipe, you would change the whole recipe. So then I found the other ingredient in the situation, and that ingredient was me. So I work on myself. I asked the Master Angels to help me change, to help this recipe, and they worked on me. I did subconscious repair and some of the other works on the CDs and on the tour. It was a Sunday. I remember they spent hours working on me. And when I felt they finished, I felt completely changed. I was a complete different person. And instantly that day, the situation with this person was resolved. And I'm just grateful that they gave me this insight, and just grateful that I was able to change, to have this resolve. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kabir and I live in Los Angeles. And Angelic Reformation has changed my life by putting me on a path of inner transformation that is more rapid than anything I ever imagined possible. My whole life, I think I craved an experience of inner growth. I wanted a dynamic and exciting outer life, of course, but even more, I always craved a dynamic and evolving inner life. And Angelic Reformation gives me that. When I look back, I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. There are all these emotional and mental and spiritual shifts that are continually occurring in me. Old barriers coming down, new vistas opening up, protective mechanisms and weaknesses falling away and being replaced by a greater experience of wholeness and happiness and peace. And the process never seems to end. I'm always seeing new layers in myself that need to be addressed and dealt with. And the beautiful thing is I can use the tools and the processes and submit SFRs to have those issues addressed and then move on to the next thing. I honestly don't think any other path could give me an experience of inner growth that is so urgent and rapid and comprehensive and fulfilling. And for anyone who feels called to a life of transformation, I think this is the ultimate path. And I couldn't ask for anything more.
Another big thank you to Jonathan, Michelle, and Kabir for sharing your stories with us today. And as you heard, some of them mentioned SFRs or Silent Faith Remote Blessings, KMBs or Karmic Mitigation Blessings, and DMBs, Divine Mercy Blessings, which I mentioned earlier. Michelle had a really interesting story where she talked about focusing on herself and her own growth to shift an external problem. Well, the first time I heard that story, I was very inspired by it, and I've used that technique several times. Instead of, for example, if I'm having an issue with someone else, whereas I maybe would have in the past dedicated something like relationship development process to that other person, I will now dedicate it to myself and shifting whatever it is in me that is helping to cause the problem. And I've found miraculously that often works so much better than dedicating it to the other person or the other parties involved. Which makes sense, right? We always hear that, like the change comes from within you. But I love her story because it was a really beautiful reminder for me to use the tools to shift myself instead of the outside issues that are stressing me out or that I feel like I would like for them to change. I've just loved that. And Kabir talked about how rapid this work is, how fast he has been changing, how he's not the same person he was 6 months ago. That is absolutely my own experience as well. This work has done, I mean, I guess this whole season is kind of a exploration of what this work can do, with me sprinkling in my experiences throughout the last several episodes, all the episodes of the season. But in a few months, in May of 2026, it will be my 10-year anniversary of attending my first event and listening to my first process. And I pretty much started listening consistently at that time to certain processes and adding more along as the years went by and depending on what I felt like I needed. And yes, we change and we grow naturally, but the things that I attribute to this body of knowledge, to this work, this angelic reformation toolbox that has changed me, it would take several episodes. I've done that throughout the last year, is share my own experiences with these various tools. But big picture, what has this work done for me? Big picture, I am a lot less reactive than I used to be. And I attribute that mostly to subconscious repair process, but also to all of the tools. I used to be someone who would become very upset if plans changed, for example, or someone was late, like some very controlled around time for some reason, and stressed out when things changed. And I'm just not like that anymore. I see it as all supposed to be exactly how it is. There's a huge amount of faith where before there just wasn't. And again, this is not a religion. This is not a dogma. It's not a faith in, like a tradition or a religion or a person. It is like deep level, just faith in the divine, faith in creation, faith in the way that things are unfolding, that helps me to just be okay with changes that happen or shifts that occur, or someone being late or not showing up or whatever. And if you knew me before, you would see how big of a shift that is. It's easy for me to just say that and you don't know me on a personal level. But some of you are listening right now. I can almost hear your thoughts and see you nodding your heads like that was an issue for you. And if you didn't do that anymore, if it just fell away and one day you realized that you didn't react the same way that you usually do to a certain thing happening, it would kind of blow your mind a bit. And that's what it has done for me, but not just once. It's over and over and over again. So that's one thing. Another thing is I'm a lot more spontaneous now. And that goes along with the same thing I said I used to like to plan. They won't let me plan now. And by they, I mean my angels won't let me plan a lot of the time, especially these last, 4 to 5 years. It's been a huge experience in trust and trusting what is unfolding. Master John likes to say, let the cabbage unfold, right? So just allowing things to happen and not trying to control them and not trying to plan every moment. And I have to say, I've been given the opportunities to travel, many opportunities to travel a lot these last few years. And when I go without a plan, or at least leave space with just nothing planned, those are the most exciting, spontaneous, blissful, wondrous days. It's typically now very reliably and predictably awesome when I don't plan anything. And again, I can say this all I want. You don't know me personally, but if you did know me, you would realize how big of a change that is due to nothing else but these processes, nothing else but these events, me listening to these processes, them shifting my internal patterns and belief systems, shifting out old experiences from past lives, moving me along, progressing me to an appropriate time and space to where I am now in my consciousness, advancing my consciousness. This is not therapy. It's not taking medication. It's not doing plant medicine. It's not changing my diet. It's not exercising a certain way. It's not coaching. It's not doing much. It is listening. It's listening in the case of the processes, and it's attending in the case of the events. And sitting and being blessed. These angels just bless you. And I think that's what's so amazing. I mean, I can go on and on for what else it's done to me, done for me, done to advance my consciousness, my faith, my sense of truth. And I guess I'll keep going because there's other things I want to get to in this episode, but what I've mentioned is very big things for me personally, and just kind of a more of just a trust in nature, more of a trust in what is unfolding around me, more of a trust in the divine, more of a trust even on what is occurring on this floating rock in the middle of the universe, because it seems crazy a lot of the time. But there is some kind of order. And it's not like I necessarily understand the order better, although I do get glimpses of understanding that way more than I used to. But it's a trust in the divine order of all of creation, even if I don't understand it. And that's kind of what Jonathan was talking about, actually, in his testimonial, is this ability of Master John's to just be positive. And it's not even positive. He's not affected by negativity. He doesn't have those structures in him. And through this work, those are taken out of all of us as well. And it's not that you don't feel things or experience things and experience reality of this planet. You do, but it hits you in a different way. It's not so jarring. It's not so shocking. You're able to align and allow and flow and allow all of it to unfold in a way because you're more connected to your soul. In fact, your soul is more allowed more into your human body. That's what this work does. And so you, on some intuitive level, understand more. You know without knowing. You see without seeing. And that is a very profound feeling that is difficult to explain with words. Another thing I wanted to mention is this intersection, this beautiful, glorious, brilliant intersection between science and spirituality. And for those of you who have been listening to this podcast for the last almost 8 years, that's what this is about. This podcast began because of my own personal interest in the intersections of science and spirituality. And this is the best intersection in this physical, earthly reality that I have come across, is this work. It is very logical and grounded and scientific, the way that Master John talks about killing a specific organism in the body, and then you no longer have this particular ailment, etc., etc., etc. It is very scientific, and it goes hand in hand with the divine truth of angels and angelic intelligence, what I'm calling in this episode, angelic intelligence, the best and truest AI that I know of, right? My favorite AI, angelic intelligence. And these things just go hand in hand so beautifully. It's like they were made for each other because they are. They're the same. True science is true spirituality, and you see that more and more clearly through this work. And that's part of the reason I was drawn to it, because I came from the science part and I happened upon my spirituality as I got older. And seeing something reflect both of those so divinely perfectly is mind-blowing and beautiful. This season is really just the tip of the proverbial iceberg in angelic reformation. There's so much more here. There's so much depth and profundity and awe-inspiring and wondrous events and healings and blessings and experiences to be had through this work, if it's appealing to you. An example of this that I literally just had over the last few weeks is one of my friends who is very highly sensitive, not part of doing this work, never worked with these tools before, but feels things very intensely on an internal level. I wanted to do an experiment because we were in the same place at the same time, and I just had her one at a time hold the different tools. One of them was the food repair disc, followed by the body disc and the mold disc and the cold and flu disc, and then my pendant. And then I showed her the home harmony device. And the experiences, the sensations that she had with each one of these was so profound for her. She didn't want to put any of them down, and they all felt different to her. They all felt like they were doing different things because they are doing different things. And that was fascinating to me, who's been doing this for 10 years, almost 10 years now. So this friend who can feel deeply, is just highly sensitive, knew nothing about this, didn't come in with any preconceived notions, not for, not against, not positive, not negative, not pro, not anti, nothing. Just, here, hold this disc. What do you feel? You're sensitive. What do you feel? Do you feel anything? If there's nothing happening, she's not going to feel anything. And just didn't want to put any of this stuff down. So for me, that just blew my mind because, yeah, I do this, but I don't feel this stuff the way that she did. A lot of people don't. You can hold one of these discs. Some people feel it, but I'm not that person. I just go off faith, and it's worked for me. I put the body repair disc on a bruise for a few minutes, and it's gone, or a cut, or something that should scar but doesn't, or the food disc on my belly when I have a tummy ache, and 2 minutes later there's no tummy ache. It's just, I know these work, but her just neutrally, without any preconceived notion, holding these tools one at a time in her hand and not wanting to let them go because she felt what they were doing on a physical level, that was mind-blowing to me. That literally just happened today. And the last few days we've been exploring these things together. Another thing I hope to do is I want to do my dissertation research for my doctorate on one of these tools, on one of the processes. And it looks like I am going to be able to do that, which I am so very excited about. No one has ever studied these. No one has ever studied these tools in an academic way. And I am hoping to do that. And not only am I only hoping to do it for my dissertation, this is interesting to me, this kind of research. And it's funny, as I'm talking about it, my angels are like, you don't need to do research on this. People are going to be drawn to it if they're supposed to be drawn to it. And I get that. And I'm not trying to, none of this season was about marketing or anything. It was just about sharing something that's been very profound to me, and not only to me, to the 56 individuals who shared their stories throughout this past year, their own experiences, their own testimonials with all of these tools. So if I get to look at that closer in my preferred way, which is doing research on things, I'm excited to do that. If for some reason that appeals to you and you would like to potentially be part of that, which would include free use of one of these processes over a period of time, you can email info@letsgetmeta.com with the subject line dissertation, and you could be in my study potentially if you are interested. So do that. If you're interested in learning more about angelic reformation, you can visit the website at globalcma.org. That is the only website where you will find the true and honest and correct information about these tools. globalcma.org. That's it. To learn more, to learn anything about this that you care to learn. You can attend an event. There's an event coming up in just a few days, March 18th, 2026. And it's at a very highly discounted price because it usually is. It's the kickoff event for the tour. We're calling it the pre-teleseminar. Master John Douglas will be speaking live and giving blessings at it. It's only $21. It is very low bar for entry if you are curious to hear him speak live and feel what these events could do for you. There's also another event on April 8th before we start into the tour proper in the end of April. So March 18th, April 8th, you can get those events on the website at globalcma.org. You could also read Medical Miracles by Dr. Richard Sarnet. He's a medical doctor who has now 4 volumes of his book, Medical Miracles. These are documented case studies that include test results, blood tests, etc., CT scans, x-rays, and the full stories of medical miracles from various people who have used these tools and blessings and the events and the Silent Faith remotes and had major medical miracles. And he is the only other person that I know of who has documented some of these in a scientific way, in a more academic way, like in these books. And so I do recommend looking these up if you are interested in the more sciencey aspect, as I am. Medical Miracles by Dr. Richard Sarnet. There's 4 different books full of these types of stories, highly documented throughout their whole process. I'm celebrating right now. I feel very happy and fulfilled. This has been a supremely fulfilling season for me personally. I've loved being able to share this huge part of my life with all of you. And for those of you still listening into this season, I hope that you got something out of it. I hope it's been useful to you as well in some area or aspect of your life. And I will be going into a new season the next time you hear from me, but I may be a bit more sporadic in this next season with publishing episodes as I complete my doctorate. There's a lot going on right now. I will, of course, as always, see what the angels want, listen to them, and do my best to follow through on what they want me to do and what they want me to talk about. That's been the case from the beginning. They started this podcast, and I didn't have much of a choice in it, but I am happy to serve in that way. So if you feel called to leave a positive review for the podcast, please do. You can leave a 5-star review with a positive word or 2 on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you listen to this. It does help each episode reach the people who need to hear it. So as always, thank you for listening and for being part of our most angelified season yet. Stay positive, stay safe, and stay meta.
The Let's Get Metaphysical podcast is an Up, and Awaken production and is produced and hosted by Renata Maniaci. Our intention is to raise the vibration of the planet by sharing, validating, and normalizing spiritual and metaphysical experiences. The Let's Get Meta podcast is inspired by angels and supported by angels. If you would like to be a patron angel of the podcast, visit patreon.com/letsgetmeta. Thank you for listening. Stay meta.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get
Metaphysical.